Welcome back to the Lumiose Post, where we talk about all things Pokemon, and today we're going to be talking about a Pokemon Presents, because a Pokemon Presents is coming on Pokemon Day. It's been officially announced. It will be dropping at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is my time zone. So yeah, let's get into it, talk about what we can expect to see from this Pokemon Presents, at least in my opinion. Obviously, I want to know your guys' thoughts in the comments below, so make sure you let me know in the comments what you think will be coming in this Pokemon Presents. I did also do a podcast on Hidden Power with Dusty Go-Goat and Soul Silver Art on kind of our thoughts, and it was really like a little bit different from my predictions. We kind of just explored different ideas and talked about how likely we thought they were. Here I wanted to give my straightforward predictions, so there's that. But yeah, so be sure to check that out. So obviously, a Pokemon Presents has more than just a new mainline game announcement, right? Like, there's all kinds of spin-off games that get, like, updated, like, you know, the mobile games and stuff. You even have some things in, like, occasionally, not all the time, but occasionally you will see a new spin-off game get announced. So, obviously, updates. Pokemon Go is going to get an update, you know, like a new event or something. Pokemon Masters EX is probably going to get some kind of update. Pokemon Unite actually has already been confirmed today to get a update where it'll be adding Miraidon in. So, I could see on Pokemon Day them do a little reminder of that, you know, be like, hey guys, you know, make sure you pick up Pokemon Unite today. Miraidon's here. So I definitely could see that. Then Pokemon Cafe Remix, I imagine we'll get something. Have the Paldean starters been on Pokemon Cafe Remix? I don't play it, so I don't know. But, you know, regardless, Cafe Remix will get some kind of update. I think that's all of the... Well, there's Sleep as well. Sleep actually did just get a big update in January. Got a new area and all. But I could see them maybe announcing, like, oh, hey, we're doing a Sleep event where, I don't know, Charmanders are more common this weekend or something, you know, something like that. I could see them touching on it. We, in the past, did get trading card game announcements and also Worlds announcements. I could see them doing another Worlds announcement. If there's any kind of special thing at Worlds, like last year at Yokohama, there were some special things like a cruise ship that you could visit, a pop-up Pokemon Center, and a few other things. So if they're doing anything like that in Honolulu for Worlds this year, I could see them touching on that. Either way, I do think they'll probably remind us, hey, Honolulu is where Worlds is going to be located. And then the TCG, they might touch on. I'm kind of on the fence about that one, because the reason they touched on it last year was because they were doing, like, the original 151 collection. And that's a big deal because, like, Kadabra had been out of the cards for a long time now, and it was coming back. And then also, it's a big deal just because, you know, it's the original 151. It's GameFreak's, like, starting ground on Pokemon. It's the foundation. So obviously they were going to touch on that. But yeah, I think I could go 50-50 on a TCG announcement. They did announce Apex as a feature coming to TCG at some point this year. They announced that at Worlds last year, so maybe they touch on that. Maybe they, you know, do something with Apex, like they announced, oh, you know, here's the first Apex card. It's coming in, you know, this set, which releases in June or whatever. Other than that, I think, you know, we get into the bigger stuff now. One thing people talk about is ports. You know, shout out to my boy Dusty Go-Goat. He wants ports probably more than anyone. So will there be ports? I don't know. I really don't know. I feel like ports are inevitable, right? And for those who don't know what I mean by ports, I mean taking the original Pokemon games, Red, Blue, Yellow, and maybe even beyond that, maybe Gold, Silver, Crystal, maybe Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, Fire Red, Leaf Green, and bringing them to the Switch. So they did this with the 3DS, Pokemon Red, Green, Yellow, and then Gold, Silver, Crystal were all available on the Switch. You could buy them for like $10 on the eShop. And then now with the Nintendo Switch Online, you do have the ability to play older games. You know, they've got Nintendo 64 games on there. They have Game Boy games. And if you're in the, like, premium subscription, they have Game Boy Advance games So that would cover through the first 3 generations of Pokemon, from red and blue and green, whichever you want to consider it, all the way through Emerald. So they could do that. I do think if they do that, they will not do it as a part of the online, right? Like, it won't be a part of that, because you can, like, you know, you can pretty much clone Pokemon that way, so that's an issue. And then also there is the fact that those are big games, right? Pokemon's the highest grossing media franchise in the world. I think that they would be more likely to do what they did with the 3DS and put these things available for like $10 on the eShop. Now, in a perfect world, they would also do like a bundle that's, say, like, you know, a little bit cheaper. So like, if all the games are $10, then that means that you have $30 for Gen 1 games, $30 for the Gen 2 games, and then you have $50 for all the Gen 3 games, because you have the remakes there. So in a perfect world, they would do, that's a total of $110, maybe like $100 to get all the games, $90, I don't know. But yeah, I do hope we see that. I don't know. I think it's inevitable. I think one day they're going to do that. Like I said, I don't think it'll be on Nintendo Switch Online. I think it'll be on the eShop. It's just, there's a couple of reasons that I think it could not be this time, right? Like, for one, you do have the fact that, you know, there is rumors of a Switch 2 coming soon. So maybe they would want to hold off on that, you know, and have it on the Switch 2, maybe with a little bit more higher quality. Maybe it's HD. I don't know. You know, I'm spitballing here. But like I said, I do think it's inevitable. I think it'll be bank compatible, or home compatible, just as yellow, red, blue were, and gold, silver, crystal on the 3DS were bank compatible. I think that these would be home compatible. And, you know, it just makes sense for Pokemon to do this, right? Like, because, especially with the Nat Dex, which is probably their biggest controversy in terms of, like, it's persistent, right? Like, fans are still talking about it, because there's still a Dex cut in every game, right? Like, obviously the Scarlet and Violet graphical issues, that's been a big topic of discussion as well. But if the game they announced this year doesn't have those issues, that problem goes away. You know what I mean? But the Nat Dex issue is going to stay here as long as they cut the next Dex. But I feel like this is a nice compromise with the fans, where, like, if you have every Pokemon game, or a lot of Pokemon games, available on the same console, and they're backwards compatible even, you know, just as a lot of the Switch games are. Sword and Shield, Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, Legends Arceus, and Scarlet and Violet are all backwards compatible. If they continue to do that with the Game Boy games, the Game Boy Advance games, maybe Switch 2 adds some element that allows DS games and 3DS games to be played on it, then eventually you add Gens 4, 5, 6, 7 on to the Switch, or the Switch 2 rather, and the Switch 2 is able to play Switch games. Eventually you have every Pokemon game is available on the console. They're profiting off of it, which makes sense, right? Because right now people are emulating their games, and GameFreak and Nintendo don't like people emulating their games. Well, if you don't want people to emulate your games, the best way to get rid of that problem is to sell them, you know, because you have to emulate them. You can't buy them, especially since the eShop shut down. You cannot buy Pokemon Yellow, Pokemon Red, Blue, Gold, Silver, Crystal anymore. So their OG game cannot be purchased. They're gonna capitalize on that at some point. So maybe that'll be what we see from this presents. Maybe it'll be now, maybe it'll be later. I do think they are coming. Just a question of when, not if, in my opinion. So then there will be the main event. Obviously, it's the thing we're all waiting for. At the end of the Pokemon Presents, they will announce the next mainline game, whether that's, you know, for 2024 release, 2025, whatever. First off, I do think there's a chance that we do see something new for Scarlet and Violet. I don't think we're going to get new DLC on the scale of the Isle of Armor and the Crown Tundra, but I could see something on the scale of, like, Daybreak and Legends Arceus, where, like, it's a free DLC that's shadow dropped. It's not really a new area. It's just kind of some new features. I could see that for Scarlet and Violet. I really could. There's a lot of leaks that suggest there was a lot of cut content from Scarlet and Violet's Indigo Disc DLC. And then there is the fact, too, that, there's rumors of a Pokemon movie, and a Pokemon movie usually brings a new mythical Pokemon. And if there's a new mythical Pokemon, they're going to want to put it in the game. And maybe they would save it for whatever the 2024 game is. But I could also see them, just putting it into Scarlet and Violet, because they have the ability to just patch the games and throw it right in, right? So then we have the new game. New game, this seems to be the consensus is in between Johto and Unova. However, I think it will be Pokemon Z. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. It won't be Pokemon Z. But it will be Unova or Johto, in my opinion. And I am leaning Unova. There's, Blueberry Academy being a gigantic tease to Unova. Things like the Empire State Building being lit up on Pokemon Day. That's a little, that is sus. Then also a lot of Unova Pokemon have gotten love. Now, the interesting thing about Johto, though, is just as many Johto Pokemon have gotten love, like the Unova Pokemon, Sure, we got the Paradox Swords, but we also got the Paradox Beasts, So there is that. There is also the fact that the Presents little trailer they put up, where it's just a Pikachu running up and being like, "Hi, I'm Pikachu." He doesn't say that, but, that's the vibe. It does have, like, related games, and it's gold and silver, which is a little interesting, but that could be ports related. If you look at 2021, we got the announcement of Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, and Pokemon Legends Arceus. And the way they were able to do this is that Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl was not made by GameFreak. They were made by Oka, and Legends Arceus was made by GameFreak. If we see something similar to that, I do think, and I think that's very possible, I think that it would be a faithful Unova game coming out this year made by a third party, and I don't think it will be Oka, because there's a lot of leakers that have suggested that Game Freak is actually very upset with Oka over BDSP, and if that's the case, then why would they work with them again, But regardless, I do have higher hopes for a faithful Black and White game than I do Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl. I think it will be better than that. But yeah, I think faithful Black and White game would come out this year. Then early 2025, January 2025 maybe, would be whatever Game Freak's working on. And that could be a Johto game. If it is a Johto game, I don't think it's going to be Let's Go Wooper. I don't think it's going to be Let's Go Togepi, Let's Go Meryl, Let's Go Pichu. I don't think it's going to be a Let's Go game. I also don't think it's going to be a Legends game. It's not going to be a Legends Celebi. I think they're going to do something new and experimental. I think that Johto will be reimagined in the current engine. So it's still the same story in Johto, but now Johto's open world. I could very much see that being a possibility. Maybe they even incorporate Kanto into it. That's a little bit of a pipe dream. So, you can pick 8 gyms between the two regions, right? Because the thing about Kanto and Johto is none of their gym typings overlap, and they share a league. So, hypothetically, I could grab 8 badges, 4 from Johto, 4 from Kanto, and enter that league. So, they could do that, and then the other 8 are challengeable after I beat the league. That would be neat. But, again, that feels like a pipe dream. I could also see a scenario where, let me first say, if that is the scenario, I do think Black and White will have Black 2 and White 2 elements in its post-game. I think those areas will be accessible in their post-game. Those characters like Roxy and Marlin and Colress will all be meetable in the post-game, at least, of the faithful Black and White games, because those games are really popular. They're constantly shoving them down our throats. They're putting them in Masters. They're giving those characters attention, unlike a lot of the Platinum characters, right? Unlike, what is it, Charon, whatever the guy's name is from Team Galactic, they kind of want you to forget about him. So I feel like they would incorporate Black 2 and White 2 stuff, and they know people love those areas and love those characters. Roxy was really popular. I think Marlin was pretty popular. Chorus is also pretty popular, so they're going to want to touch on that. And then, we might get a cruel tease that, hey, the Pokemon World Tournament's coming, but, we don't actually get to see it. So, like the Battle Frontier thing from Oris. Please no, but maybe. Yeah, if that's the case, if Game Freak's doing a Johto relay game, I do think Black and White will have some elements of that. I could also see a scenario where Black and White gets announced, Faithful Games, Black and White, and then Game Freak works on a kind of Black 2 and White 2 sequel, and this one's more stylized. This one's a bit more like Oris, where it takes a lot more creative liberties, maybe even adds in Terrastal like Oris added in Mega Evolution into the Hoenn games. I could potentially see that. You know, we know Terrastal exists in Unova now. We know it exists. It's in the Blueberry Academy, and it'd be really easy for that to just start spreading. You know what I mean? Terapagos, we see that it spreads. It's climbing up trees in Area 0 and all this kind of stuff. Terrastal's starting in Area 0, but spread to all of Paldea. Who's to say it doesn't start in the Blueberry Academy and spread through Unova? I could really see that. I could see a Unova game made by GameFreak with Terrastal as like their Black 2 and White 2 game. So it would be like a reimagined Black 2 and White 2 in the way that Oris was a reimagined Ruby and Sapphire. Yeah, that is what my call would be. I do guaranteed, like, well, I can't guarantee it. I'm not the Pokemon company. But I do think, gun to my head, that it's Unova. Maybe there's something Johto there too. There is the possibility of it being, you know, a third party makes something and Game Freak makes something. But if it's just Game Freak making something, I think it'll be black and white with some Black 2 and White 2 elements. Like, those areas will still exist. Maybe even those gyms still exist and you get to pick them, and at the end, Charon becomes the gym leader of Aspertia or something. Kind of like how in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, you see that Blue gets to become the Viridian City gym leader. Maybe that's what they do, and also would have Terrastal in it. I really could see that. No matter what, I just want to get this out there. No matter what comes out this year, I just hope that whatever game it is has new Pokemon in it. I love seeing new Pokemon. I love seeing evolutions, regional forms, something like that. I really hope that exists. So I don't know if Unova's going to give us evolutions to old Pokemon. I don't know if it's going to give us Unovan forms, but I really hope so. That's kind of a dream of mine. And especially if they do Johto, they especially, I feel like, have to do that because Johto's got a small dex, you know? So I feel like they got to touch on that. And especially because a lot of the stuff in Johto is incomplete, so they would have to add their evolutions, right? Like, yeah, you can catch a Yanma, but I better be able to evolve into a Yanmega. And looking at Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, and Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, they didn't do that. You know, Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, no access to Sylveon. Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, couldn't get Rhyperior, Electivire, Politoed, Steelix. So, I don't know what they'll do about that, but I do hope evolutions are included and maybe evolutions are added. But yeah, be sure, of course, to let me know what you think of these predictions in the comments below. Be sure to let me know your own predictions, of course. Like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, all that fun stuff. And until next time, I will see all of you later.